Hi, it's an early morning here in Sweden. Time to tear down the Banshee. I got some coffee here with me, so everything is going to be okay. Well, let's dive into it. Here is an overview of the parts I'm going to mount. Chariot clutch basket. Looks really good. All the parts for that. Also going to upgrade the water pump with a billet impeller. New bearing, seal, new original drive gear for the water pump. Because the old one has been there for a while, I assume. Pancake bearing. Black anodized. Looks really good. Ceramic ball, push rod. Also going to upgrade the billet shiftstar. New arm with a bearing on it instead of the stock one that has just a sheet metal piece on it. Billet water pump cover with a drainage on it. And the gasket for the cover and the O-ring for the water pipe. Well, that's about it. I haven't prepared that much, just some pans to collect the coolant and oil in, a lamp and some regular tools, and I will add up along the way. I'm going to start to remove the cover for the radiator to access the cap. Now I'm going to drain the coolant from the engine by removing this 10mm bolt. Putting that screw or bolt there again so I don't forget it. I have taken away the skid plate. Not going to bore you to death with removing that one. Pretty common sense. Don't know what type of skid plate I have. This one is tucked between the frame and the bumper, so I had to remove that as well. Now I'm going to take away the drain plug for the oil. Now I'm going to start to take the cover off. I'm going to start by putting away this cable and the vent hose up here to gain some access. I have just put a big slack on the clutch cable and I'm going to disassemble the clutch. I'm also going to do the shiftstar upgrade and the arm with the bearing on it instead of the stock one that has a sheet metal piece on it. I will continue to tear down the gear shifter on the other side, and then I will take this apart. And now I think we can just pull this out. Oh, actually we could. Now I will take away the shiftstar and the arm. I just had to convince the shiftstar for a while with a screwdriver on the back to get it off, get it to loosen up, and now I just can pull it off. In a while we will do a comparison with the new billet one. Watch out not to drop that pin. We can put that back. The last stuff to remove is the push rod and the steel ball, and I'm just going to do like this. Here we have the ball, and here we have the push rod. Here we have the stuff, the new stuff and the old stuff. Just in a while we're going to start to drill out those 4 rivets to change the basket. Here we can see the old shiftstar and new billet one. The stock one is really pointy on the edges, and the new one got more like a radius. Here you can see the bearing on the arm and the stock one. So, time for some cleaning. All the components so far looks pretty good to be an old machine. I don't think it has so many hours on it. But here's the old basket. As you can see, there is a bit of play in it. So, but either way I'm going to swap the cushions. I will just grind those rivets out with the angle grinder and punch them through to get it apart. Here is all the parts to put the clutch basket back together. Rubber hammer if needed, 5mm hex. Just apply some Loctite on the bolts. Backplate, a type of rudder spring. So let's put it back together. Let's put back together, starting with the new shiftstar. I think that will just slide on there. Time to put the new arm in. Aiming to catch some threads before putting the spring in place. I'll just lube this up before putting it into place. Putting the gear shifter back. When putting back the shift shaft, I noticed that I'm going to need to adjust it. The gripper that pulls this drum into gears, there's a gap that needs to be the same on that side and that side. So I'm going to take this apart, rub those things off, kickstarter and that pocket, and adjust that eccentric screw. As you can see, that thing needs to be in a slot. Here is the stuff we're going to use when putting the clutch back together. 4mm hex, 30mm spanner, torque wrenches, 32mm socket, 10mm, some oil to lube all the stuff with. Here we can see the friction plates taking a bath. I'm going to upgrade to 8 of them, and that's why I did change the basket for some extra space. These rubber things, they're not O-rings, they're like rubber rudder springs. I think the purpose is to get a smoother clutch engagement and maybe take away some vibrations or hammering inside of the clutch basket. I haven't ordered extra one, so I'm going to use 7, maybe put in an extra one in the future when taking it apart. But there are several bikes running pretty well without them at all, so that's going to be fine. The original lock washer was a bit broken, and they're pretty brittle, so I'm not going to take the chance and reuse it. And I forgot to order one, so I just made a new one from regular soft sheet metal. So that's going to be good. Well, let's put it back together. I did some thinking and some research, and I'm not going to use these rubbers. I know the clutch is going to work really well without them. So I'm just going to throw them, not using them. I just put the clutch back together. There's a washer, and then I'm going to start with putting in the push rod, or else I'm going to forget that one. And a nice white ceramic ball. Here's a washer, goes there. And the mods I have made to the center to fit another friction plate is, or the pressure plate. I have done some things to that too, but here I have taken away 1 millimeter of that surface. And on the back side I think it was 1.3 millimeter on that surface, just to get the center in the basket. Otherwise one of the friction plates will get outside of the basket, yeah, not going to grip. You will see that later. And now when I'm taking away that material on the backside, the friction plate is about in the center of the basket. And because I did take away some material on the backside here, I need to compensate on the front side. And that's why I got this. My friend Max did help me. I did draw this up in CAD, and my friend Max did EDM it out for me. Talking that down to 90 Newton meters. Here we can see the pancake bearing and this pressure plate I have taken off to compensate for an extra steel plate and friction plate. I think it was 4.4 millimeters I need to compensate, and it's only possible by my conclusion is it's only possible to take away 3 millimeters because the basket gets too thin, and as you can see there's this edge here, and it's 3 millimeters high. If that one gets higher, it's going to hit the steel plates because there's no more room. And as you can see, I have kept ring outside, so a friction plate will slide onto this and get support in the center. And the drive splines, they're still good enough, about the same contact surface as original setup. So when adjusting the pancake bearing, there is like a arrow there and there that needs to align when the clutch engages. So here you can see, maybe not from this angle, but they are in a straight line to each other. And now when I got it in that place, I can just lock it. The bearing adjusted, so now I'm going to apply some Loctite and lock it. Here is the stuff to change the water pump, the new parts, impeller, bearing, seal, the new gear and the cover with the drainage on it. The tools I prepared: a rubber hammer, a socket extension, a micrometer, I'm going to show you why in a while, a knife, screwdrivers, plier and some oil, and some power tools. One thing about this billet impeller and shaft, or it's two separate pieces, but you get it. It's a aluminum wheel and a stainless shaft something. I noticed that the fit between the bearing and the shaft wasn't that. It was actually a little bit sloppy. As a precision machinist, if I would have done this shaft, I would have made it a bit tighter. I didn't measure it. I don't know if you can see. Going to take a look. The shaft is, I don't know if you can see it, but it's 9.95. And actually I don't have any tools to measure the bearing, but it should be in nominal size, like really close to 10. It's a possibility that the shaft will start to spin in the bearing. That's not good, so maybe I will put a drop cylindrical C's on it, just because I don't want it to rotate. Well, let's take a look at the cover. Actually, the gear did set pretty well, so I had to just pry it a bit with the screwdriver. Looks pretty okay. Now there is a pin in front of the bearing. Oh, there's some milk on it, or coffee. Just going to clean it. Here, Here you can see the difference between the two. Pretty fancy. So the most important thing is the seal, that one gets mounted in the correct direction. Let's see. Time for the oil seal to go back. I'll just put a light amount of oil in it, and in the cover. That is the correct direction of the seal. I didn't have any fancy plug, so I did just cut a regular hose, a fuel hose, and a zip tie, and a screw in it to plug that vent hose. As you just watched, I did mount the billet water pump in the cover. I did put everything back together. The cover was ready to be mounted on the bike again. But then I did some thinking. It doesn't happen that often, but sometimes I do. And as you did see in the video, it was a bit sloppy fitment between the bearing and the axle, and I can't have it like that. So I did take it all apart again, and I need to fix this. The shaft is too thin, and I'm thinking about if I can press the impeller off and just machine a new shaft from surface hardened material and have a better fitment, because if it's plain from the beginning, putting it back on, it does not going to last that long. And the stock pump, I'm pretty convinced that the pump I just removed was a stock one, and it's been holding up for about 20 years. And I can't put it back together in worse condition than it was. So I need to fix this. Let's see how we can do it. Maybe we break it, maybe we can fix it. Maybe I just going to buy a new Yamaha stock one. Let's see. Well, let's see if we can take this impeller off the shaft, and if we succeed with that, we can make a new shaft with better fitment. So I'm just and we are lucky today.
Oh. Wow.
Yay! We got it off. Finally, I'm finished with the new shaft. There's the one that was included with the water pump kit, and here's the new one made from surface hardened material, ready to mount the impeller again, and then put the cover back together and slamming it on the bike again. Yay! I'm not satisfied with that solution either, that quick fix for the vent hose. So I am going to redo that as well. Time to smash it together. I have cleaned the gasket surface before, and before putting the cover back on, don't forget the O-ring, has some grease on it, and I'm going to lube the support. It's not a bearing, it's just like a cylindrical hole that supports the water pump shaft. Some lube there, grease, and some oil on the shaft. Let's see if it works. Some slight drag in the clutch, but I think I can adjust that out. I have been taking some hood laps over Brevav. It runs really good, everything works. I'm going to check the fluids a third time, and then I'm going to put the covers back on, or the cover for the radiator and the skid plate and the front bumper. And then I'm done for now. I'm really satisfied. I hope you enjoyed this video, and maybe it can bring some light on some things. The mods I've done is the 8-plate clutch, stiffer springs, detent arm with a bearing, billet shiftstar and a billet water pump. And because the shaft on water pump was bad, it meant lots of more work than I have expected, and the job for the clutch also gave some more job than I have expected, but everything's now is okay and works great, so I'm really satisfied. And now I'm going to do some riding and just enjoy it. Banshee is a really fun bike, or ATV or quad. So thanks for watching.